Welcome to the deep dive. This is a shortcut to being well-informed.
Yeah, we take, stacks of research, fascinating personal stories.
But we distill them down into the essential knowledge you need.
And today, we're tackling a really big one. I mean, maybe one of the biggest questions is personality destiny?
Right. We're diving into this journalist's year-long experiment. She was determined to, well, fundamentally redesign herself.
Pushing back against traits she felt were blocking her path to happiness.
Exactly. She talked about intense anxiety, feeling isolated, that awful feeling that your own personality, your default settings are the main problem.
Yeah, stopping her from reaching her goals. She wanted to become, and I love this phrase, you, but better.
Such a great frame. So our mission is to look at her attempt, right? Trying to intentionally shift her Big Five personality scores.
And see what happens, when that kind of aspiration meets the actual neuroscience. It's a huge question.
Because for centuries, the standard view was, well, pretty pessimistic.
Totally. We all kind of know that famous line from William James.
Oh yeah, the philosopher. About character setting like plaster.
Exactly. That by age 30, for most of us, it's just set, fixed, permanent.
And that idea really haunted personality science for a long time, didn't it?
It did, but thankfully, modern research gives us a bit more hope. Maybe James was wrong.
So personality isn't totally calcified?
It seems not. We now understand it's more mutable, changeable.
Yeah.
So we're going to explore the science behind how that change can happen.
And why maybe small, intentional actions can lead to real shifts even later in life.
Even in adulthood.
Okay, so let's get into the toolkit she used. The foundation for all this was the Big Five model, right?
Yeah, the Big Five, scientifically validated. Sometimes people use the acronym OCEAN.
Openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism.
Got it. And that baseline is just essential because statistically, we know that higher scores in 4 of those.
Everything except neuroticism.
Right. They correlate strongly with higher well-being,
Yeah.
Success, general happiness.
And our journalist, she took a test.
She did. And it basically confirmed what she suspected. Her mix of low extroversion and high neuroticism. Well, it lined up pretty perfectly with her unhappiness.
So she knew exactly which dials she needed to try and turn.
Yep. But before we get to the how, we have to tackle the big hurdle, the one everyone thinks about.
The genetic challenge. Like, if it's in my genes, why even bother trying to change?
Exactly, that's skepticism. And look, it's partly true. Science confirms maybe 30 to 50% of the differences in our personalities.
Right.
They're down to genes.
Okay, 30 to 50%. But that leaves.
That leaves a good chunk, 50 to 70%, potentially open to change, influenced by other things.
I loved the analogy in the source for this. It was like, your parents give you a pantry of ingredients.
Milk, eggs, flour. Those were the genes.
But whether you end up making, like, a fancy quiche or just okay pancakes or, I think she called it inedible goo.
Huh. Yeah. That depends on which ingredients you use and how they interact with your environment, your kitchen.
Right. And that interaction, the environment part, that's where the change happens.
That seems to be the key. Psychologists point to, well, 2 main ways this works in adults. The first one is called social investment theory.
Social investment theory?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, wait. What does that actually mean? It sounds a bit, clinical.
It does sound a bit jargony, yeah. But basically it means as you take on new social roles in life.
Like getting a new job.
Yeah.
Or becoming a parent.
Exactly. Those kinds of big life changes. These roles come with expectations, right? Requirements.
Sure. Your boss expects you to be organized, maybe?
Precisely. So if you get a demanding job, you are sort of investing in that role. And the role demands you act more conscientious, more organized.
Ah, I see. So the behavior is kind of forced on you by the role.
And over time, that behavioral demand actually sculpts the underlying trait. You build new habits because you have to. Society requires you to step up.
Okay, so society makes you adapt and your personality kind of follows along. What's the second mechanism?
The second one is all about mindset. This is the work people like Carol Dweck are known for.
The growth mindset idea.
Exactly. The simple belief that personality can be changed, that it's malleable, that belief itself is powerful.
Why does just believing it make such a difference?
Well, if you believe traits like, say, empathy or organization aren't fixed, that they can be developed,
then you're more likely to actually try.
you're way more inclined to try, to practice, to persist, even when it's hard. You don't just wait for some magic light bulb moment.
You commit to the small steps, like deciding to volunteer for an hour or asking someone a deeper question.
Yes. It's that persistence, that repetition that seems to unlock the change. Which brings us right to the how-to.
Okay, so the journalist's first target, extroversion. Her score was low, like 23rd percentile.
Yeah, she struggled with that reflexive isolation, right. Admitted she relied way too much on the internet, like Twitter, for connection.
Which often just leads to more loneliness, ironically.
Totally. So her strategy was pure behaviorism. Just act extroverted.
What did that look like?
Signing up for stuff. Improv classes, going to local meetups, basically forcing herself into social situations she'd normally avoid.
And this is fascinating for introverts listening. The research she found. Apparently, when introverts occasionally act extroverted,
Yeah, even if it feels unnatural at first.
they get a huge mood boost,
Yeah.
like measurable happiness increase.
A massive mood boost, yeah. Positive affect, they call it. So faking it in this very specific way actually makes you feel better. Connection equals happiness.
And she learned a cool trick in improv class too, right? Something about responding to extreme statements.
Oh, yeah, this is a great little communication hack. So someone says something kind of wild or out there.
Instead of just saying yes, which implies you agree with the crazy.
Right, you say, right, just
Right.
why does that work better?
Well, right. Just signals, I heard you, I understood the statement. It doesn't mean you agree with the content. Then the trick is to listen for the emotion behind it. What do they really want? Usually just to feel heard.
So you acknowledge, listen for the need, and it diffuses confrontation, helps connection.
Exactly. It facilitates communication, which actually ties into agreeableness too. Okay, so faking extroversion helped her mood and skills. But her biggest battle wasn't social awkwardness. It was internal, right? Neuroticism, anxiety.
Yeah, that was her primary foe. Deep-seated anxiety she felt was just part of her identity.
And this one needed real intentional effort to change, didn't it?
Absolutely. She knew if she didn't tackle the anxiety, it would just keep running her life, fueling the stress.
So what did she try? I remember something about float spas.
Yeah, she tried the float spa, didn't last long. She said she just felt cold and like she was bobbing around in a lukewarm sitz bath. Not exactly transformative.
Okay, so not the float spa. What else?
Then she tried loving kindness meditation, where you focus on sending warmth to others and, crucially, to yourself.
And that had a really unexpected effect on her.
It really did. She found herself just breaking down sobbing when she pictured loved ones sending kindness to her.
Wow. Why?
It was this incredibly painful realization. As a high achiever, a striver, she realized she only felt she deserved love after she accomplished something.
Oh, man. So the meditation forced her to separate love from achievement.
Exactly, to untangle that connection. Very powerful.
She also used a cognitive strategy, right, from Dr. Judd Brewer, treating the anxious brain like a dog.
Yeah, like house training a dog. The core question you keep asking yourself when you start worrying is, what do I actually get from this behavior?
What's the reward for worrying?
Right. And the goal is what he calls cognitive disenchantment. You look closely at the worry cycle and realize it gives you nothing good. It feels awful.
The source used that really visceral analogy, rubbing your nose in the poop of the anxiety.
Seeing how unrewarding, how stinky it actually is.
Yeah.
Until you just lose interest in the habit. You become disenchanted.
That sounds intense and maybe exhausting, constantly monitoring your brain like that. Is it sustainable?
That's a really good question. And it's complicated because there's a counter-argument here, too.
Oh.
Yeah, some psychologists, like Dennis Tamary, argue anxiety isn't just bad, it can actually be useful.
Useful. How? Isn't the goal to reduce it?
Well, their point is that anxiety often highlights what you truly care about. And it can push you to take action, to prepare.
Okay, that feels like a big contradiction. So is anxiety good now?
Not necessarily good, but maybe. Functional, informative. And interestingly, our journalist actually used this reframing later on.
How so?
She was in this super tense house hunting situation, feeling panic rise up, big decision, high stakes.
Right.
Instead of fighting the panic or trying the disenchantment thing, she sort of listened to it.
Listen to the anxiety.
Yeah. She realized it was just signaling how much this decision mattered to her. It wasn't a monster, just information.
And that helped her.
It empowered her. She calmly canceled the contract without a meltdown, said she slept like a baby afterwards. So reframing the panic as data, not danger.
That feels much more manageable, actually.
Okay.
Okay, let's shift to agreeableness. Her score was mid-range, but she admitted to some pretty toxic stuff. Anger, self-centeredness.
Yeah, and she had this incredibly stark moment of realization. She caught herself.
Oh, I remember this one. Frantically Googling if a victim of a bear mauling
Was now hotter than me.
Wow. Just wow. That's such a painful, raw example of being completely lost in self-preoccupation, zero compassion.
It really showed her how poisonous that self-absorption could be, especially for relationships.
So what was the antidote she found? How do you become less self-absorbed?
Deeper connection. Turns out, research backs this up strongly. People feel way more connected when conversations go beyond surface-level small talk.
You mean asking those deeper, maybe slightly more vulnerable questions, like, what are you most grateful for?
Exactly like that, instead of just, how about this weather?
Why is that so much more effective?
Because, apparently, people judge you less on how slick or competent your conversation is and more on your perceived warmth.
Ah, so asking deeper questions signals genuine interest. Vulnerability signals warmth.
Precisely. And that builds connection and trust much faster.
And she had that key insight with her partner, too, right, when he wasn't helping with the move.
Yes. Initially, she was just furious, like classic disagreeable reaction. But then she paused the anger.
And tried empathy instead. Looked for his house fire, his hidden reason.
She tried to figure out why he was resisting, what was his secret motivation.
And she realized.
She realized it wasn't about the moving tasks themselves. He just fundamentally didn't want to move at all.
Oh, so his passive aggression was his only way of saying that huge thing.
It seemed like it. And that empathy, that deliberate choice to try and see it from his perspective, that was the fix.
She called it boringly, gently successful. It wasn't dramatic, but it worked. It addressed the real issue.
And again, it's a great example. Choosing an agreeable action, empathy, broke her default pattern of anger, behavior changing the trait.
Okay, last one. Conscientiousness, the big predictor of success, especially at work. She was a successful journalist, but still struggled personally.
Yeah, organization, procrastination in her own life. Even high achievers can struggle with this outside of structured work.
So what's the good news here? Is this one changeable?
This is actually one of the easier ones, relatively speaking. The science suggests you can boost conscientiousness just by going through the motions.
Really? Just acting more conscientious makes you more conscientious.
Seems like it. Consistent behavior can start to shape your identity over time, even if you're not consciously thinking, I'm becoming more conscientious now.
So less about deep thoughts, more about habits.
Yeah.
What was the practical hack here? Something about decluttering.
Yes, fantastic advice. View your entire house as a container.
A container, meaning?
Meaning the crucial mind shift is that containers, drawers, closets, shelves aren't there to help you get more stuff. They represent a limit on the stuff you can have.
Oh, that's a total reframe. It's not about organizing more stuff. It's about having less stuff to organize. Productivity through subtraction.
Exactly. When you treat your space like a set of fixed containers, you force yourself to decide what's essential, what stays, what goes.
And that act of limiting, prioritizing, filtering that builds the conscientiousness muscle daily.
On a really fundamental level, yes.
Okay, so we have all these strategies. Improv, meditation, deep questions, container thinking. How do you sustain all this? It sounds like hard work.
It is hard work, and that's where the framework of acceptance and commitment therapy, or ACT, comes in. It's like the operating manual for sticking with uncomfortable but valuable change.
ACT. Okay, let's unpack that. Acceptance, commitment, therapy. Wait, is it therapy or action?
Good catch. It's acceptance, commitment, and action. Therapy often uses it, but the T is action.
Got it. So acceptance. What does that mean here? Accepting you're anxious or disorganized.
It means accepting the uncomfortable feelings that come with trying to change. The anxiety before the improv show, the awkwardness of a deep question, the frustration of decluttering.
So you accept the feeling, you don't try to just push it away or fix it immediately.
Right. You allow it to be there. But crucially, acceptance doesn't mean resignation. It doesn't mean giving up on the goal.
Okay, so you accept the discomfort of the effort. Then comes C, commitment.
Commitment to your core values. What kind of person do you want to be? More connected, more organized, more present. You commit to those values.
And finally, T for action.
You take action aligned with your values, even when those uncomfortable feelings are present. Like the journalist performing in her improv showcase. Terrified, probably.
But she did it anyway because it aligned with her value of being more socially engaged.
Exactly. Accept the fear, commit to the value, take the action. That's ACT in a nutshell.
So after this whole year, improv, meditation, deep talks, ACT, what happened? Did her scores actually change?
They did. Modestly, but measurably. She became slightly more extroverted on the tests and significantly less neurotic.
So it worked. Kind of.
It suggests personality change is possible, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a spectrum, not some overnight total transformation. Small, consistent habits add up. They make a real difference in life quality.
Okay, but this brings us to that really deep kind of philosophical question the book raises at the end. Is the change? Is it real? Internally.
Ah, yeah. You're talking about the Jim Fallon story.
The scientist who found out he had the brain scans.
Mm-hmm.
Basically the brain of a psychopath.
Mm-hmm. And he decided consciously to just act against that nature, to ask himself, what would a good guy do in this situation?
And then just do that. Force himself to be agreeable, kind.
Consistently. And the change was so noticeable, his wife commented on it. A big shift.
But then he told her the truth, that it felt like a game to him, like he was just playing a role.
Yeah, he called it the lie of being a nice guy. He didn't feel it deep down, maybe.
And her response is just brilliant and kind of unsettling.
Totally. She just looked at him and said, I don't care if you mean it or not, keep doing it.
Wow. So that's the question we're left with, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you have to constantly put in effort, use those free traits to act out a character.
Yes.
Is real personality change
Mm-hmm.
or just a performance?
It's a tough one. And maybe the provocative thought to leave you, the listener, with is this, echoing Fallon's wife. Perhaps that deep inner ego shell, your most comfortable self, maybe it never fully cracks. But if the external performance of being kinder or more confident or more conscientious, if that behavior benefits you and benefits the people around you,
then maybe the performance is the reality that matters.
maybe the behavior drives the perception, and ultimately that becomes your reality. Perhaps being the better version of yourself is simply about choosing again and again to put on the better performance.